This is the Dynamics 365 podcast, focusing on the ingredients of a successful Dynamics 365 practice. Your host is Business Solution MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as NZ365 Guy. Over the coming weeks, I'll be interviewing seasoned professionals from various parts of the world, talking about what it takes to be successful in a Dynamics 365 practice. For more information on this interview, show notes, feedback, and resources mentioned, or to suggest a guest for future episodes, please go to nz365guy.com/podcast. Thanks to iNorgic for sponsoring the Dynamics 365 Practice Podcast. iNorgic is a leading Microsoft Gold Dynamics CRM ISV, delivering best-in-class Dynamics 365 customer engagement solutions, as well as cost-effective and high-quality offshore Dynamics CRM programming services. iNorgic innovative solution portfolio includes Maplytics, a premier map visualization, routing, and geoanalytics app for Dynamics 365 customer engagement, InnoLink, that offers a seamless integration between QuickBooks and Dynamics 365 customer engagement, and other productivity apps like User Adoption Monitor, Click to Clone, and Click to Monitor. Hi everyone, I'm here with Jerry Weinstock, and in this episode we're going to be focusing on his journey as a Dynamics 365 practice owner. Jerry is president and CEO, has energy and vision, and a true entrepreneur. His 20 plus years experience include a broad mix of business development, sales and sales management, hardware and software, technical competencies, and marketing know-how. Jerry has successfully launched 3 companies based on new economy principles. Jerry founded CRM Innovations in Kansas to provide CRM consulting and implementation services for local and regional clients of all size. CRM Innovation also has several ISV solutions in the area of sales and marketing, enhancements to Microsoft Dynamics 365. Hi, Jerry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. Glad to be here today.
Good to have you. Excellent. Jerry, can you tell me a bit about your career so far and your current company, CRM Innovations?
So it's been a journey. I mean, when I was in college, I was initially, first year, I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, and then I moved into something called transportation engineering, which was responsible for road and street planning and highway planning and mass transit, and ended up getting a bachelor's and master's degree. Did that for a number of years. And then about the time of the Apple II computer, all of a sudden I got the computer bug. Started writing some programs to do some things that we were having to travel up to the Florida Department of Transportation's offices in Tallahassee and doing the mainframe computer. And then I made the move and said, oh, this is pretty cool. This technology is great. I could sell this stuff. And I went to work for a computer center at the time, and then eventually ended up managing the computer center, and said, oh, this business thing is really cool. Like being a business owner, pretty fun. And then got introduced into another part of the technology industry where I was in for sales and marketing and selling commercial products for a while. And then at the end of 1999, I said if I was going to go out and start my own business and rise and fall on my own merits, now was the time to do that. I started doing that in 2000. We were building effective websites, back-end database integration. And basically what happened is we'd come into a client's location and they'd be using Goldmine Maximizer, Talisma, or some other enterprise or localized contact management system. And we were having to kind of rebuild our knowledge base every time. In 2003, I saw Microsoft CRM at a demonstration here in Kansas City at a launch event. I said, Microsoft gets it. The Outlook integration was cool. Learned a little bit later on that it wasn't quite ready, commercially ready. And maybe after 10 plus years, it's, with the new app, it's finally ready for Outlook integration. But I started focusing 100% on that, and I started CRM Innovation. A few years later, we decided to try and make money while we slept, and we kind of built a couple ISV solutions. So we do consulting and ISV solutions. CRM Innovation is kind of a boutique shop. We never designed it to be, 10, 15, 20, 30 consultants. We're about a 4 to 5 person shop with some outsourced resources, and that's just kind of the way I like it.
Nice. So what makes you different in the market?
I think one of the things that differentiates us is we lead with our business acumen first. We tend to put business people on the project first and then follow with technology. A lot of our partners will take a salesperson, they'll get the deal, they'll maybe put a business analyst on it, but the lead contact person, the lead project person will often be a developer. And from that perspective, there's a lot of other solutions to the problems before writing code.
So, how do you create the culture in your company? How do you get staff, on board with the way the culture you want to set? How do you train them up, get them up to speed? How do you take on new staff? That type of thing.
Right. Well, that's a challenge for a small company. I mean, that is one of the, quite frankly, the downsides of coming to work for our company, because there's not a large network of peers that are going to help bring you along. So it's something as the founder and owner is something I have to do. So the first thing I do is I look for people skills. I look for personality, what their previous experience was. Do they have anything that looks like small business ownership responsibility? In some cases, somebody might have worked at a fast food restaurant early on in their career, but did they ever move to the point where they were the manager and had to make sure that the cash drawer balanced at the end of the day? And that was of personal concern to them. So the people skills are really critical, because that's not something that you can teach. Okay. The business skills are really important. The business acumen is really important. From there, we've picked up some, over the years, I generally like to pick up brand new .NET programmers, bring them through the process. It takes, from a developer standpoint, it probably takes 6 months before I make them responsible for customer billable activities. They're usually put on the behind-the-scenes activities. On the functional consultant area, basically I try to pick up people that have worked in the business for a little while, have done at least one project, but are smart problem solvers. I mean, at the end of the day, the magic that we're doing is solving business problems, and you have to be able to understand the business needs and then architect a solution. Writing the codes or putting the workflow bits together, that all can be taught.
Have you found that more like on the functional side, have you found a particular previous job role that is a good fit for Dynamics? My personal one is I've found accountants often can transition very well. They have the business knowledge, etc., and they can transition into a functional consultant. What about yourself?
The skill that I found there is understanding the business requirements. It's sort of like the first step in the project. It's on a personal level, like I'll put together a to-do list for myself, and here's my shopping list, or here's a list of the stores I want to go to on a Saturday morning. And I put together a great list. I get in the car, I pull out of the driveway, and I go, I left the list at home. So I got to turn around and get. So it's the first few steps, the ability to understand what the customer really is looking for, because sometimes they're telling you exactly what they think they want, but it's not really what they're going to want when they see it. So that's the ability to figure that out. So on one hand, I want to look for somebody that's a good high-level problem solver. And at the other hand, I want to look for somebody that is a little bit of a detail perfectionist type person. So it's the middle person. I don't want the person that's kind of average at both. So in some cases, quite frankly, I've had some people that are kind of different than their normal kind of environments, basically, in terms of personnel. They're kind of they're not generalists. They're specifics in two different areas at the same time.
So one of the other people I've interviewed in the past talked about that they try and get the consultants to have a couple of core sets of skills. So, for example, a primary set, you might be, an absolute expert in a component or a module of Dynamics, but then having a secondary skill set. Have you found you've developed that within your team, or are you finding more people are skilled broadly across the Dynamics 365 suite?
We've pretty much focused on the core sales, marketing, and service. So to that extent, I would say 90% plus of our projects are always sales. and there are other things. So you have to be really good on
Yeah.
the sales module and all the things that are related to sales in terms of opportunity lead, contact management, marketing lists, those kinds of things. Some of these new features that people have that the product team has added to the portfolio: field service, voice of the customer, gamification. We've kind of put those further down on our list.
Can you tell me a bit about your company's relationship with Microsoft and how they affect or influence your business?
When I started the company, one of the things I didn't want to do was have somebody I needed to report to. I'd done that for 20 plus years, whether I was a VP or a general manager or whatever. There's always somebody I was going to have to report to, and I didn't want to. That was one of my reasons I took the risk to leave the every other week paycheck and things of that nature. So I've never aspired to make CRM Innovation a managed partner. So to that extent, we're pretty distant from the local sales office and that process. We do get some contact with them from time to time, and quite frankly, it's been unfortunately negative. The Microsoft salespeople are very much focused on moving licenses.
Right.
And I'm not shy to say it. We've been in some clients that we have been the partner of record for years. And one way or another, Microsoft has got wind of what's going on there because maybe something happening on the desktop side and software assurance and things of that nature outside of our 100% focus on CRM. And they've actually come in and introduced a competing Microsoft CRM partner to the account. And boy, that just lights me up. Now, fortunately, just about every case, the partner, the customer said, look, Microsoft, we've been working with CRM Innovation for 5 years. I don't know who these other people are. Just, stop bothering us. But that's been really a sore point with me with their channel. So there's no great love for that part of the Microsoft program with me. What's really turned the corner for me, quite frankly, is being an MVP for 8 years now. That really opened up a whole new perspective, and that really changed the entire process. It was a business-changing, professional career-changing event.
Wow. So can you tell us a bit about how you became an MVP those 8 years ago?
It was 100% luck when you got right down to it. We were exhibiting at a convergence event, and the community lead at the time, guy went by the acronym JAG, happened to walk by our booth, and I had been following the CRM team blog for some time, and I saw that they had guest posts, and this guy came by and started chatting with me, and I said, well, I'd be interested in doing a guest post or two. How do you go about doing that? And he said, well, just send it to me and so forth. So I did a couple guest posts, and then I ran into Jim Glass, JAG, sometime later, and we were chatting. He goes, how come you're not an MVP? Because I've been busy out there doing a couple of guest posts on the CRM team blog and have been answering questions on the forums back at the time, which was a pretty big activity. And he goes, he almost asked his own, responded to his own question. He goes, well, I should have known that. And he goes, well, you ought to get involved. And I go, okay, cool. And I applied. And I waited a couple months and nothing happened. And then I waited 6 months, which is, what Jim said. Hey, it normally takes, 6 months before we look at you. Nothing happened then. I sort of became a little disillusioned. I said, okay, I'll keep plugging away at. So I kept answering questions on the forum and kept doing some other community activities. And lo and behold, I get this notification, and it was just cool. It was a happy October 1st back in the day when that happened.
Just looking at from your perspective, I'll come back to the MVP and the community contribution shortly, but just on the relationship with Microsoft point of view, thinking about your business and the type of clients you serve, how would you define a good working relationship, or what would you be more happy with a relationship when it comes to Microsoft?
So there have been some strong high points in the relationship. We've had some problems, I said, with the sales channel. But when we first made the move to add some ISV solutions, we got connected with an ISV evangelist, a guy named John O'Donnell, who actually was a MVP, one of the early MVPs at the time, before he later on went to work for Microsoft. And he was a great help in navigating the ISV channel. He did some Channel 9 videos of some early products that we had. And he was an excellent resource. So that was really good. So I think Microsoft really needs to do more with the ISV channel and nurturing smaller ISVs. They're very tuned into going after big partners, and I understand that they want to swing for the fence and they want to compete with Salesforce.com with all the App Exchange solutions out there and the big guys. So they want that, but there's a whole slew of an entrepreneurial base of people like our company that have built some really good solutions. But it's hard today to get on track with Microsoft and navigate the confusing world of their systems.
Interesting. I actually interviewed John Gravely last week from Click Dimensions, and him being, quite a large ISV, and it's interesting, his experience is quite similar to yours. So it's almost like it doesn't matter what size you are from an ISV perspective, there needs to be some improvement around the Microsoft engagement with the ISV channel when it comes to Dynamics.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, whether it's sales, support, product roadmap, technology. I mean, I know Click Dimensions people. I know their support management team, and I know that they suffer on a greater scale than we do too. Some of the things that we run into where clients will call into support, and they'll, support will eventually say, "Oh, it's your ISV solution's a problem," but we have no real way of getting interacting with that and getting engaged. It's very difficult for us to raise cases on behalf of our ISV customers. It's difficult to get that ISV type of support that we need.
So, what do you think partners need to do to embrace Microsoft now? Looking at it more from non-ISV, but from a system integrator point of view, if a partner wants to have a good working relationship, is there any recommendations you'd have for them?
Yeah, they need to crack the code at their local Microsoft CRM office. I think if you're just a consulting partner, you have to get. If you're open to getting potentially micromanaged and build that relationship, you need to really network and get on the radar of the local sales team so you can build that base and then figure out how you're going to move up the ladder so that you're going to be a potential go-to partner for them. And that's a long process. And it's very much a chicken and egg, because you're not going to get there until you're moving a lot of licenses. But it's hard to move a lot of licenses unless you're getting some really good qualified referrals and introductions from the CRM sales group. So it's a challenge.
Being the size you've talked about and not having that engagement with Microsoft, is your business driven by your own internal marketing, word of mouth, that type of thing?
Yes. One of the, and I'll say this right off, I've been in sales and marketing in a prior lives, and I know what it's like. And I've been a commissioned salesperson. I've managed salespeople. I've managed people that manage salespeople. So I've done it at all different levels through a wide range, either direct sales or through distribution or for manufacturers. And another one of my missions was, when I started the company, was to try and be successful without having to manage salespeople. Which is kind of tough to do. So basically, I've been successful in the Kansas City market due to marketing, word of mouth, more particularly in a half dozen last years through blogging, social media, participating in the CRM user group both nationally and locally, and building a brand so that fortunately the phone rings. We have not made the quote unquote the proverbial cold call in I can't recall the last time we did that. The other thing that we've done is we have built relationships with other IT partners here in the community, and they have brought referrals to us. We were an active member in the. I started the Kansas City chapter of the IMCP a few years ago. We ran it for a few years, and then it sort of died. We couldn't build up enough, mass here in Kansas City. It started up again. I'm starting to get I'm building a participation in that and getting involved in that again to kind of help them get that going with some new blood. But that's really that. So there's been a mix of things, Mark. I mean, it's really not been any one thing, but it's definitely not going out knocking on doors. We've never done that.
So ICMP, just for international listeners, what is that?
That's the International Association of Microsoft Certified Partners. There's a U.S. national organization with local chapters, but it's actually very big internationally. It may even be bigger internationally than in the U.S., at least it was years ago. And the notion is that partners would get together and build strategic alliances so that 1 and 1 would be 3. That's the underlining what's in it for me kind of notion.
I'm going to put a link in our show notes to that so listeners know where to look. So tell me a bit about your management/leadership style. I'm interested to understand your perspective on leadership and management, and how do you define yourself in business?
So from that, so there's two ways to look at that. One is I work for a guy a long time ago, back actually when I was working for a public agency. And one of the elected officials that was on the board made a statement that I was in at a meeting. And his statement to the executive director was, well, my philosophy is, we ought to give every executive director enough rope so they can hang themselves. So I kind of taken that philosophy going forward. I give my team members a lot of breathing room. I don't want to micromanage them. So one of the things that, one of the advantages working for our company is we don't have a lot of meetings, a lot of reviews. I put somebody on a project and I let them run with it, and we check in, with the architecture. So they get a lot of autonomy, which is really good. And I think that's a lot of independence we give to our people. From a definition standpoint, one of the things that we tell our prospective customers is that we're going to behave like a longtime trusted employee, and we hope that we'll be treated like one. On the flip side is we're not going to behave like a vendor, and we don't want to be treated like a vendor. And as long as we kind of operate on that basis, things work really smoothly, because we really want to work with people that are fun to work with and like working with us. We don't want to work on a, this part of the contract in line 47 of the subsection 3 said this, and therefore we're not going to do, 4 workflows because it said we were only going to do 3. I mean, we're going to do what basically needs to be done within, the range of business sense, and we're going to adjust accordingly. And we want to be treated like, they would treat their own employees.
So I know you have a range of ISV solutions. We've already touched on them: Tooltip Manager, Event to CRM, Emma to CRM. How do you balance being an ISV as well as a solution implementer? So that
turns out to be really one of the cool parts about our business model that has worked out really well. So it's for a small shop, or for any shop, it's expensive to have, developers or functional consultants or any team members sitting on the side, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the next billable project. Correct. So we balance our professional services work with our ISV solutions. So when professional services work is strong and everybody's busy, the roadmap for the ISV solutions or the next ISV solution, the next feature or function, or even the next product, that gets pushed out a little bit. When professional service billing is slow, we kind of say, okay, what do we got going on the ISV side? Let's pull in the roadmap. Let's add this new feature or function. Let's improve this, or let's start hatching this next ISV solution notion and pull that in. So we got a good balance on that. And that's really handy, because we have never let a team member go because of billable time issues. That ISV kind of yin and yang capability, I guess, if you want to kind of look at it that way, has really worked out. So that was that turned out to be sort of, I don't want to say it's a brilliant side benefit, unanticipated side benefit, but it's a benefit of being, playing both sides of the coin.
Found that myself. So just in that ISV space, Microsoft released AppSource over a year ago now. What are your thoughts on AppSource? Has it helped you?
Okay, so that's a very timely question here. Microsoft, for those that have been around for a while, if I mention Pinpoint, Microsoft introduced Pinpoint, and it was going to be fantastic. It was going to be great. And I looked at it, and I said, okay, this is going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. And I jumped in, and I just drank all the Kool-Aid, and it was and we poured a lot of energy into Pinpoint, and it was a complete zero. The only inquiries we got from Pinpoint were from either people that were just had no responsibility, no accountability, no budget ownership, and wanted to kick the tires because who knows why. Or we got them from, quite frankly, people that wanted to look at our solution because they wanted to see if they wanted to copy it or clone it or do it themselves. So it was turned out to be a complete zero. We provided a lot of feedback. We got connected to some of the Pinpoint players, and we burned a lot of time, and nothing ever happened. So when the next round came around with the new app flavor of the day, I said, we're going to wait a while before we do anything, and which we've done. And quite simply is about a month ago, we started the process to submit our applications. And we are quite frankly struggling with it and a little frustrated. It is a expensive process to go through. For us, the rules are changing every time we submit and resubmit. And just recently, after finally going through the submission process and getting things to the point where, we got a medium or a high item that they identified, but they said, okay, you only have to do the critical items, and then we fixed critical item, and then next week they changed the review process, and the high item became critical, and we have to fix that. Submitting a half a dozen times, we finally got to the point with our solutions that they're technically ready to go. They have now changed the rules on the types of solutions they want to allow in the system. And what I mean by that is they are no longer allowing solutions that are partner assisted. Wow. So they want a solution that the user can download, install, and trial without ever contacting the partner, the ISV. The problem for us is 3 of our 4 solutions all require a license key to be generated, and that license key that's being generated is tied back to the number of enabled users or some other parameter that we need to define at that time. In the case of our email marketing solution with M, it's based upon the number of contacts that they have in the bulk emailing system. In the case of auto number or our event management solution, we need to know the organization unique name. So we don't have any, trial capability because we give them a full function capability with this. So they said, you need to make your product self-contained so somebody can download it, trial it either on a crippled basis or on a time-limited basis without engaging. And it's like, okay, every time we communicate with them, the rules are changing, and it has been exasperating.
I didn't realize, it's back in the day I did the CFMD, and even that was quite a process and what you had to do.
I looked at that. It was expensive. And at the end of the day, we decided that it really wasn't going to move the needle. Clients that we had picked up for the ISV solutions, I'd come back and ask them, and I go, so what do you know about CMFD? And they go, never heard of it. So it was not a factor in making any sales or not making any sales. Nobody had that on their checklist that we did business with.
Interesting. That's some interesting feedback regarding AppSource and, a year on.
There's a lot of apps out there, but I have not really checked with my peers to see what it's doing. I'd like to be out there. I think at this point in time of the 4 current apps, One of them does have a built-in 7-day trial program because there's no managed solution. It's totally a cloud solution. So our web to CRM system can get in without a problem. Our auto number, we're going to just withdraw from submission. I'm not going to change my code for a free built-in free 7-day trial. For our event to CRM solution, we're going to modify our portal process where people set up the portal account, and we'll set it up for a 7-day process and limit it to one event. And then in the other case, with our Emmet to CRM solution, we're going to go back and modify our code because the investment will be worth it there, and so on. But I think I understand what they're saying. I really like to be there, but the reality of it is we answer a lot of questions about our solutions, and how it works and how best to apply it during the provisioning process. And without the answers to some of those questions, I think people are going to walk away from a lot of solutions that are feature rich, underestimating their capabilities or not understanding the benefits. And so, yeah. I think it still remains to be seen. I can't wait to discuss this at the MVP Summit in March.
Yeah, it'll be great. For the ISV solutions that you use on the projects that you do for customers, which ones do you use the most that are available in the market?
So a number of our customers use Click Dimensions if they want to do a lot more than bulk emailing. Okay, in particular, if they want to track anonymous visitors and then identify them, and that actually, to a certain fact, competes with email marketing solutions that we've had for a half a dozen plus years. But that's okay because I go back to who we are. We're out there to provide the best experience for our consulting clients. So whether it's our product or someone else's, that remains to be seen. That's kind of the big one. We're using, of course. Actually, a product called XRM Toolbox is a major player. We've got a number of solutions that we've got. Our auto number, our internet lead capture. We tend not to use really that many other third-party ISV solutions. We've referred some people to a Android app from Aquilon years ago that was pretty good for tracking phone calls back as CRM activities. That was one thing, but we haven't pushed a lot of other ISV solutions for one reason or another.
What about methodologies? Do you adhere to a standard methodology? How much does methodologies play into implementations and projects?
So another thing that I kind of jumped on the bandwagon pretty big was when I first saw it was the SureStep methodology, because quite frankly. I didn't have any personal training in the project management, culture, so to speak. It's something that I just kind of picked up as I went. So I said, okay, well, here's a good reference point. And we got into SureStep and came to the realization that it was probably way more complex for many of the size projects that we were involved in. So what I've done with that over the years is I have sliced and diced it and picked up the parts of it that we use for our clients, the discovery engagement, the specifications gathering, the kickoff meeting, those kinds of things. So I've used those Word documents, Excel templates, things of that nature. But I've cut out a lot of the overhead that you might have if you were doing a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 consulting engagement. So I've trimmed it down, and I like where we've ended up with that. It's really worked out well.
So can you tell me a bit about your involvement in the Microsoft community? You've touched on your MVP. How much does it play in your career?
Huge. It's huge. I would, as I look back on my 35 plus year business career, there's been a couple high points, but probably in the top three was becoming a Microsoft CRM MVP, now Business Solutions MVP. It was great professional recognition. The world of CRM is, paid the mortgage, put the kids through college, bought a ski boat, a lot of vacations, couple horses, all sorts of things. It's been very rewarding for us. For my family. So I enjoy giving back to the community. I like that altruistic part, but I will say, and I'm not embarrassed to say it, it's also reaped significant benefits from us commercially. I mean, the visibility is significant. I'm an active participant in the CRM user group. When they had partners on the board of directors, I was on the board of directors for 2.5 years. I was the MVP representative in that position. I know Tony Stein actually went from a kickoff event when he worked for Microsoft back in and came to Kansas City back in 2005. So he and I go back a long ways. I've spoken at a number of CRM user group national events, just came back from Nashville, actively involved in the CRM user group here in Kansas City, blog, participate in a variety of different venues, have spoken at other events. It's been really fun. And for me, it's been great because public speaking was never a strong suit, and it's something that is definitely a work in process for me, most definitely. And it's been a great opportunity.
Wow. Brilliant. So tell me, what's been the biggest challenge as a business owner?
Challenge is two aspects. One is keeping good employees with you because they're hit on via LinkedIn every week. My team members get contacted almost every week by headhunters because the market is scarce for good people. So creating an environment that keeps them around is important, and that's challenging to do as a small business owner because there's all sorts of benefits that you get that financially. We provide health insurance for our employees. We've got a good vacation program. I've got a relaxed dress code. I mean, it's flip-flops and shorts or whatever, and it's not no micromanagement. That's a challenge, and on our end, since I do things very subtly in terms of making the phone ring, it's managing the opportunity pipeline and make sure that we've got enough work. So those are the two challenges.
Yeah. No, totally understand. What do you predict for the future of Dynamics 365 and perhaps implementation partners?
So the challenge that I've come to realize here, starting about 2 years ago, is compared to where I was in 2003 with version 1.2, is you could ask me any question in 2003, 2004, 2007, 2008, and I knew the answer without even thinking, looking it up or whatever. The CRM product is 15 times more complex than it was then. We've got field service, professional services, project management, gamification, voice of the customer. The list is endless. The mobile app, the new Outlook app, it's expanded. So Microsoft Social Engagement. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So it is no longer possible to be, the CRM expert. It's impossible. So that is disappointing, humbling, sometimes embarrassing because, I was in a meeting the other day and somebody asked me something about the application and I go, oh, give me a minute. I got to, test something. 5 years ago, I would have go, oh, here's the answer. So that's what's changed and that makes it a lot harder for smaller partners to be a good solution provider. You need to be a little bit more picky on who you're going to pull in as a client as a consequence. In the partner area, the challenge is that Microsoft has continued to emphasize, and rightfully so, bigger partners, vertical market solutions. That's where you probably need to look to be in the future. This Dynamics 365 product is great. Artificial intelligence being added to it is huge. It's no longer about typing data in and getting data out via an advanced find query. It's Power BI, another thing that you need to be a master of these days.
Agreed.
We're moving into a whole new era in terms of this artificial intelligence component and automation behind the scenes.
Hey, Jerry, it's been great. Just to wrap up, I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you. What books do you recommend most to people and why?
I ask my team members to, try and read some general purpose business books. What I've been reading lately is, quite frankly, on negotiating. And the one book I'm reading now is Never Split the Difference. and it's really good. It's actually by a ex-FBI hostage negotiator. And I'm reading that not to be a more competitive negotiator. I'm reading that to become a better participant in the negotiation process, because that is often the first step in the process. And you're always negotiating with people when you're working with them, trying to come up to a common accepted goal, whether it's specifications or financial or administrative. We're all negotiating all the time.
Yeah, good. What's your favorite apps and why?
My favorite, from a mobile standpoint, from just a phone standpoint.
Yeah.
The one I use, there's two that I use all the time. One is Waze, because I don't like to get speeding tickets. And the other one is the Microsoft product Office Lens. I use that all the time to take pictures of whiteboards and other documents, and it turns them right into a PDF or uploads them to OneNote or uploads them to OneDrive. It's a lot better than just taking a photo, saving it, emailing the photo to you. So Office Lens is something that is on my home screen I use every day.
Great. Do you have any daily rituals that set you on the right path for a successful day?
I get to the office before my other team members get to the office.
Nice. What recommendations do you have for people wanting a successful career in Dynamics?
The nice part about our product is we're solving real business needs, and we're using technology to accelerate the sales, marketing, and service process. And they have to view it like that, and they have to understand they're not building the next Facebook or Amazon or some other cool widget app. This is the underlying foundation of the technology tool set to have a successful business, whether it's, quite frankly, our product in the Dynamics category or it's from some other vendor. This is the basic building block, and we're helping companies scale their environments with this product line.
Yeah, good. Jerry, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Before you go, if people want to follow you online, where can they find you?
They can go to crminnovation.com/blog and see our blog. Just as a point of note, there's no S in CRM Innovation. It's not plural. My joke is we've only had one good idea. The other place they can find me is on Twitter is at CRM Innovation, or we've got a CRM Innovation Facebook page.
This has been a Dynamics 365 podcast focusing on the ingredients of a successful Dynamics 365 practice. Your host was Business Solutions MVP, Mark Smith, otherwise known as NZ365 Guy. For more information on this interview, show notes, feedback, and resources mentioned, or if you know someone who would be a great guest for future episodes, please go to nz365guy.com/podcast. Thanks to iNorgic for sponsoring the Dynamics 365 Practice podcast.